Across the plains, abutting the feet of the dramatic Front Range of the Colorado Rockies, the sound of bells spreads its music from atop a tower rising amidst the urban center of Denver, Colorado, on the campus of the University of Denver. Seen daily by the thousands of motorists who speed along the city's major interstate, as well as those who more leisurely cross the quiet oasis of the campus to classes and appointments. The tower's golden spire anchors one in a place and gives direction to the onlooker. Yet what is seen from outside the building gives no hint of the unexpected world of color, design, and atmosphere to be found within the rectangular space of its four walls. A world not anchored to any known geographical place, but a world of the mind, of thoughts and emotions. Of reflections and challenges. It is a world of ancient symbols, ancient languages, ancient animals, and ancient man. A space of color and form. Of light and shadow. It speaks through the voices of man's past and challenges his visions for tomorrow. This is the interior of the Carl Williams Tower. And this is the story of its message and how it came to be. Built in 1999 through the generosity of local cable businessman and university trustee Carl Williams, the tower is part of the Daniel R. Ritchie Center, a multi-purpose addition to the University of Denver campus, named in honor of its chancellor, Daniel R. Ritchie. The center, a brick-and-mortar embodiment of the chancellor's desire to integrate the elements of mind, body, and spirit, the tower and the carillon atop it speak of the elevation of the mind's intellectual pursuit. But at first, the tower's interior remained blank. Throughout history, towers have been the instrument of communications, both social and spiritual. It was clear then that communication should be the subject of the interior's design theme and the focus of a set of 4 large-scale murals. In 2002, Carl Williams commissioned the Denver architectural painting design firm, The Grammar of Ornament, under the direction of owner Ken Miller and partner Linda Paulson, to propose a theme and create an appropriate interior scheme to bring it to life. Influenced by the interior architecture of the tower, the decision was made to reference the Byzantine style of the 6th century and its later interpretations. Characterized by the use of vivid colors, mosaics, golds, and polished stones, the style was well suited to the grand dimensions of the tower's interior. Crowned by a golden dome, the elevation of each wall would be divided in a classical manner. Beginning with a series of now arched windows and flanked by polished stone, the upper section would be divided by a large-scale scrolling acanthus mosaic. The top of each of the tower's 4 angled corners would display Latin terms, which together set forth the ethical foundation supporting the philosophical thrust of the mural series, that being the evolution of human communications from the Paleolithic to the modern period. All of this would rest on a frieze, itself supported by a large display of quartered stone. With the additional support of trustee Scott Ryman, the project's funding was secure and the local painting firm Create a Scene, under the direction of owner Karin Myrick, was selected to carry out the work. The first challenge was to develop a new approach to creating the effect of dimensional mosaics. Traditionally, mosaics use small pieces of various materials, including stone, ceramics, glass, metals, and gems, to create a rich and permanent surface decoration. Now Myrick's new technique would create the same appearance. First, each scaled design was translated into the appearance of mosaics. The various mosaic patterns were then transferred onto thick mylar templates. And then, like a stencil, each piece was cut out, leaving the mosaic pattern in all its many facets. Through these templates, later cut by computer-operated laser cutters, an acrylic medium was spread over a canvas base. While still wet, the template was removed, leaving the 3-dimensional pieces forming the individual designs. After being checked for flaws or defects, the acrylic pieces were cleaned and trimmed. A process continued when dry. Various artists then colored each separate tile, layering the various hues, some many times, to create their complex and often iridescent appearance. When fitted together, they produce the overall color and dimensional appearance of the more traditional mosaic materials. Similarly, the various colored marble stones were executed through the medium of paint on canvas, layered and sanded smooth until they eventually achieved the appearance of polished slabs of split and quartered panels. Finally, the murals themselves were begun. To recreate the texture and look of stone, another acrylic material was applied to the canvas base, tooled, and when dry, sanded and base painted. Over this base, the mural designs were transferred and then expertly painted to give the appearance of cut and incised panels, a technique known as trompe-l'oeil, or fooling the eye. Soon, the walls of the studio were hung with a growing number of completed canvas pieces, and the casual environment of the studio was replaced by the more formidable confines of the tower itself. At a height of 74 feet from floor to dome, with each wall measuring approximately 30 feet across, the task of turning the interior of light and space into a seeming labyrinth of metal supports, decking, and stairs now began. With the scaffolding now in place, the installation of the studio pieces and the execution of the remaining decorative work could begin. At the top of the 5 platform levels that now allowed access to all the tower's surfaces, work began on the spherical interior of the tower's dome. Over a field of brilliant gold, the design fields were laid out, and preparations made to apply and adjust the canvas work to the dome's curved surface. Each piece was attached much like wallpaper, with an adhesive. Then the patterns were adjusted to fit the curved surface, much like assembling the pieces of a puzzle. Until, at last, the dome, the tower's crown, glittered in its completed state. And so each day the blank surfaces of the tower's interior were transformed, as each brushstroke created form and depth, and as each new studio piece found its place in the emerging scheme. At last, the first of the 4 murals was ready to hang. Trimmed, rolled, and carried into place over a prepared base of adhesive, the canvas panels were positioned and then slowly unrolled, adjusted, and smoothed as the work progressed downward. Until the painted images emerged from behind the supports and braces of the all-encompassing scaffolding. With the mass of each mural's neutral tones placed within the colorful setting of the surrounding mosaics, each wall's envisioned design scheme was nearing completion. Finally, before the removal of the scaffolding and the completion of work on the ground floor, the decorative window grilles, whose patterns were incised and painted on UV-protected panels, were installed. Soon, the final pieces of the interior's decorative scheme would be in place, and the work of some 20 months would be completed. Below the golden dome, and placed on the angled corners of the tower, 4 Latin terms established the environment for interpreting the progression of the historical events illustrated by the murals. Lux, literally light, and in its philosophical context, enlightenment. Veritas, truth, the process of discerning fact from fiction. Scientia, the rational organization of facts into a focused body of intellectual pursuit. Humanitas, the quality that characterizes and directs man's intellectual pursuits to achieve that which is good, thereby creating an environment that values and nurtures the ongoing pursuit of that quality in all of man's endeavors. Below these 4 ideals, their qualities descend symbolically, like rain, in the color and form of the mosaics nourishing the 4 trees of life, or trees of knowledge, both ancient and universal images.
The spoken word. Set in the Paleolithic period, the spoken word presents the initial stage of articulated speech. Here a storyteller, a shaman, or an elder relates a message, a lesson, or perhaps a story to a young boy. In the mind's eye, the images materialize above the fire's flames in the arch above. Symbolic expression. In this next stage, the thought picture now emerges as an independent symbol expressing an idea. These images are derived from the paintings found in the caves at Lascaux in France and in the Altamira caves in Spain, including the first known expression of human authorship, the outlined handprint of man. The written word. Against the backdrop of an Egyptian pharaoh dictating to a scribe, some of the earliest alphabets from around the world are displayed. Archaic Attic Greek, from Prometheus bound. Cuneiform, preamble to the law code of Hammurabi. Vedic Sanskrit, the opening of the Rig Veda. Archaic Chinese, divinations. Mayan glyphs, classic Maya. In the arch overhead, Egyptian hieroglyphics. The closing lines from the Rosetta Stone, the decree of Memphis. This decree on a stela of hard stone in the script of the words of God, the script of documents, and the letters of the Aegeans, and set it up in all the temples of the first, second, and third rank, beside the statue of the king of Upper and Lower Egypt, Ptolemy, living forever, beloved of Ptah, the God who appears, possessor of goodness. The printed word. Centered by a 15th century illustration of a German printing press, the development of printing, an early Chinese invention, is here illustrated by a 15th century Serbo-Cyrillic text. A page from an American colonial almanac. The print tray of England's first printer, William Caxton. The formalization of printed type. And the elevation of the letter to an art form. In the arch above, an excerpt from the United States Bill of Rights. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. Digital transformation. The final mural in the development of communications begins with the discovery of electrical current and the invention of electronic communications. Radio signals, sound recordings, and location readings. Representing the era of digital transformation in communications, the female figure, Sophia, or wisdom in Greek, stands before the inverted arch composed of computer chips. Emanating from her upturned hands, the binary code of zeros and ones stream forth within the double helix of the DNA molecule, the communicative vehicle of all life. Backed by the night sky, first seen in the Paleolithic representation, but now with the herald of the Russian satellite Sputnik. The figure of Sophia directs us outward, beyond the confines of the earth, and into the realm of tomorrow.
But the tower's interior is more than cold mosaic surfaces, gold and painted images. It is, in itself, a catalyst for thought, contemplation, and ultimately, communication. Indeed, it is a voice speaking to those who visit and pause to listen to its message, a message conveyed through its symbols and gestures. And like the great interiors of the past, it welcomes all through its elementary language of color and form, enticing even the very young who are drawn to it, although they cannot yet decipher its meaning. Indeed, it is a space alive with the vitality that the visitor brings. Whether student or teacher, tourist or neighbor, its message speaks out from its four walls like words on a page of a book, or a voice on a recording. Like music, drawn from an instrument, the tower's interior sings its own melodies in color and form. Melodies that echo anew the human achievements of our common past and challenge our vision of the future and our human destiny. To reach out, to touch, to connect ourselves to one another in our pursuit of knowledge and understanding. That is the elemental nature of all human communication. This act of communication fashions a community from the isolated individual, valuing the individual as well as the common good in the evolution of our species on this earth, and ultimately, in the frontier of the living cosmos that awaits us.